Behind the Shades.
I had to learn so much about myself when it came to dating. And one of the pitfalls for me as I dated, especially in my 20s, was I felt I wasn't worthy because I had this idea of what a successful relationship was. I won't say perfect because perfect is like Disney, right? Put
Sure.
on the glass slippers, she wakes up and we ride off, and everyone who hated us, they all of a sudden magically become our best friends and best
Yeah.
men at the wedding, right? But when I realized that I had to do more to get more, that's where I had to accept from an ego perspective that, hey, Train, as good looking as you may think you are, as successful as you may think you are, you may not still be good enough because there's other aspects of relationships that you need to bring to the table. So that's how I started my journey into understanding relationships, understanding women, and trying to be as successful as possible. One of the points you raised, which I loved, was that women, at least here in Canada, based on the numbers, as they get older, post a divorce, post a long term relationship, they begin to suffer financially, right? Because
Oh, they
you begin
do.
to see that, right? But I
Yeah.
think what some people may confuse is that in the immediate aftermath of a divorce, yes, most times women get alimony, they get things of that nature. So they're okay a few years afterwards. But it's like the 5 years, the 10
Yeah.
years, the
Yeah.
15 years. I think that's what people don't see. So speak to us about that and how we can clarify maybe some of the myth of that. When a woman gets divorced, she's living this high life, she's rich, she goes and gets a pool boy as her boyfriend, and she lives happily ever after. So let's speak about that a bit.
Well, statistically, and I do have the statistics, but they're not on the top of my head right now. I think it's well over 47%. This was the US statistics that live in poverty. Women with children actually live in poverty. Don't forget, women generally, and this is no prejudice against men, because I now have an amazing son-in-law and my own son, which I've raised to the point where he's looking after the kids and partaking in all of that. But statistically, women are the caregivers. And so they miss work. Okay. They cannot necessarily go to work. They're in charge of pay the babysitters and everything else. So their finances, even though it looks like this is for general population, they are living in poverty. Women are who have children to raise. If you're single, it's not a problem per se, but most when it comes under when you have children, that's where the poverty comes because when a child gets sick, who stays home? If she's the only caregiver and she's there, she stays home. She misses work. So in the long run, it just adds up and it's hard. And just generally speaking, also, is women are lower paid than men. That's just a given. That has been proven over and over again. So already they have a disadvantage. But as a caregiver, because they're primary caregivers, their responsibility is to the children. And so that there's babysitter, if a babysitter can't come into play, if the daycare closes, just one of my nieces, there was pink eye going around and the daycare closed. So what does she do? She can't, she has to stay home. So there's loss of work. There's also sometimes what happens, employers don't want her to stay on because she's either missing too much work if the child is sick a lot. So that just leads into the poverty as well. So I think, let alone poverty, there's just the struggle of being a single woman. And then what I have found in my work is when a woman is with children and she's single, it's almost like the hardship is already there and she's more prone to choose a relationship that is not really healthy and good for her because it's an escape for her. And that's her saving grace. That's her like, oh, I just need some help and I need some support. So she's hungry, so she'll choose whatever she can get in a sense. And I don't mean that in a bad way because I've been there myself. Like it's until you're full, can you really make a good choice of what you're going to take? And when a woman is empty and she's exhausted and she's tired, and I mean, all of these things, someone comes in, and please, I'm not generalizing like all the women, but I'm just sort of saying they become more needy, more willing to accept something that is not going to work because, oh, they've got financial support, they've got the ease. It just gives them some kind of relief. Yeah.
One of the best examples I could give to that is if you come out of a serious relationship or long-term relationship and it ends and you truly believe you've given your all, like you've given your best version of this man, your best version of this woman. And now that it's ended for whatever the reasons, right? It could be that you two have grown apart. It could be that
Sure.
the ideals that you had 5 years ago is not the same as today. Simple,
Yeah.
right? Um, Now you're in a situation where you're older, you have more responsibilities if there's children involved, right?
Yeah.
Those are mouths to feed and things of that nature. So you have a choice to make. Either you're going to do it all on your own, which is quite difficult,
Yes.
or you may try to do it with someone that at least can supplement what you're offering, meaning that if you're earning X amount of income and you need additional income, that person may be that, and that may be all that you're looking for. And I think one of the struggles that women have is they fall into the trap, as you mentioned, where they're like, okay, I just can't do this on my own. This person maybe is not the best of person, but there's someone that can at least give me something. Is that some of the struggles that maybe women have?
Very much so. I'm sort of also talking on the really behind the shades, as you say, is the more deeper where they get into really dysfunctional relationships where they might choose someone who's an addictive behavior and the children got to live with this, or someone who is really unkind, is, getting away with a lot of stuff. And there's a desperation, at least they're getting a roof on my head. But let's go to the one that says, hey, look, I'm willing to come into your family and I'm willing to support you and I'm a kind and loving person. I think if there's some kind of love, we still are role models to our children, and if there's no real connection, I think our children will grow up not knowing what a connection is. And then so they go out to a relationship and they don't necessarily know what real connection is. Instead of it's like, it's a space where I do this for this. They don't have the real connection. Now, a lot of people manage that for a while. They need, they go into relationships for purpose. But I think sometimes that's where they fade. When the purpose is over with, when the children are gone, where's the connection? And that's when it falls apart. I'm talking about healing ourselves and looking at this whole thing as a long-term relationship. So you're going beyond just the purpose, like you'll do all this with me, but when you can't do this, where's the connection? Where's the intimacy? Where's the connection? So that's the way I like to look at it. But you're right. I think every relationship starts in with a purpose, but I like to go further than that because that's what kids will end up feeling is this is just their purpose. Yeah.
For me to heal, I had to take time away from the dating market.
Yeah.
If I had children, I don't think I would have the ability to take time away because there's always that reminder. There's always the presence of the other person. There's always, for a lot of people, that comparison. Like if you and I were married and we divorced, right?
Yeah.
And we share children, and when I drop off the children to you, I see you and this good looking man that you're dating. And if I'm the type of person where I'm just not able to make relationships work, but I see you making it work, then it's a constant reminder of that I haven't succeeded in a way that you have exceeded.
Yeah.
So how do we help women in that case who are experiencing that understand that it's okay to take a break from the dating market, take care of your children, heal yourself as you mentioned, and then when you're able to provide a full healed version of yourself, then you can get back into the dating market and do so.
I don't think it's okay to take a break. I think it's necessary to take a break. I think you need to take a break. I think it is so important to take a break, to heal yourself. I think everyone goes into a relationship wanting it to be everlasting. I don't know of anyone who goes into a relationship thinking, oh boy, I can have a divorce later on. I don't think anyone does. They want it everlasting. And regardless whether it's through a divorce or a death, there is huge loss and grief, even when the partner is not the right partner. There's the death of the dream, the death of the hope, the death of what you actually strive to get. So I think it's super necessary to stop and to do your work so you get it right. And I think so many people don't have the role models, are uneducated about what they are playing in a part in, what they are doing, and how they can change it. So no, I don't think it's okay. I think it's necessary. I think in order to have a true, honest, authentic relationship, that this is so important.